So as you know, defense programs today are under pressure to scale fast without losing control. So we will explore where that transformation really breaks down and how to bridge the gap between development, production, and life cycle in a practical way. My name is Katarzyna Szkudlarska. I work in Etteplan, and I will moderate this discussion. Our main speakers are Martin Colberry, Business Development Manager from Scanfil, and Lars Corson, Service Solution Director from Etteplan. Of course, we will ask if you have any questions during the event, just let us into the chat. So, most defense programs work well at low volume. So, where does it actually start getting complicated? Martin?
Yeah. As we know that most expensive decisions in defense manufacturing are made before the first production order is placed. 80% of a platform's life cycle cost is determined by early engineering decisions. Many decisions are made without thinking of a long life cycle in mind. And it comes down to many questions that we will present now during this presentation. And it includes things as component selections, where you should keep in mind last time buy issues. You need to choose components wisely. If possible, choose multiple brands. It could be face issues with sub-suppliers, corporate strategy changes. It could be geopolitical risks that you need to avoid. It's also much easier to find options and design alternatives when you're in a project than looking into an old design that is 5, 10, or 15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry. Oh, that was one too quick.
Sorry. Yeah, it was quick.
Yeah, sorry.
As an introduction, no worries.
Yeah, no problem. Then we have the documentation depth. In some cases, shortcuts are taken during development. Those shortcuts is easily handled during the development phase. But when you move on, the project takes time. People are changed during the project. Those shortcuts may create problems or issues later on. So it's important to do the proper documentation, preferably keep reasoning on why you have taken certain decisions during the project, so that other people may take over this project at later stages. And then, of course, we have the scale assumptions. Many things can be easily handled when we are doing small volume prototyping. But when we move into larger scale manufacturing, if you scale up a small problem, then this problem will become a big problem. So you need to address all those time-consuming tasks or development things that you can handle in a low volume manufacturing, but those will quickly become expensive or even extremely problematic when you scale up manufacturing into thousands or tens of thousands of units. No.
Okay, so Lars.
Yeah.
Can you go deeper in development?
Yeah, I can. So usually we from Etteplan, we show up in this phase, the development phase. And from our experience, this is pretty much where where production is won and lost. And it's related to what we said before, that a lot of decisions are made pretty early on here by engineers, and of course they're doing their absolute best to solve the problem ahead of themselves. But it's usually in the defense industry there is this gates thinking that you do your requirements and then you do a gate and you carry on. So you're pretty focused on those specific tasks and maybe not always thinking ahead. And we have like 4 main things here. And Martin, you can talk a little bit about component selection, perhaps.
Yeah. So during the component selection phase, as I mentioned, you need to keep as many possible options open as possible. Some manufacturers of certain components may change their corporate strategy. It could be that there's another segment that becomes more profitable. We see that in the memories currently, where it's more profitable to sell memories towards AI and the AI industry. And that causes ripple effects and shortages on the memory side. We have last time buy issues. If you choose components that are mature or even at the end of the life cycle, it's very likely that they might become obsolete. Sometimes we have seen projects that the components are obsolete even before the product is launched. And that can, of course, become a critical problem if you have already certified the end product. We have also the geopolitical risks. Component manufacturing might take place in countries that is seen as non-preferable, or there could be other supply chain risks connected to these component choices. And as I mentioned, if possible, please try to choose as many brands as possible for each component type, so you can spread the risk. And even if you need to keep to one specific brand, there could still be many options from the same brand. Let's say it's ST, they can have multiple components working on the same architecture and so on. Yeah.
I can talk a little bit about the software boom and product lifecycle management from the start, and that is very crucial. That what we've seen in many products that I've worked in, that there's always a bit confusion on how which decisions were made when and on what basis. The main thing is that there's quite a small window where all of this are made, and then people move on to other projects and so on. So the knowledge has a tendency to disappear. So it's really important to capture these design rationales early and have this with us, so we know what kind of how about the thinking behind this, and also the tool chain. So there's a good understanding on what kind of tools were made and why we choose those tools. And also, of course, here it's also important to look forward to see, is this tool chain sustainable over time? There is a lot of old Windows 95 and Windows XP computers stored around collecting dust in a lot of companies, because we have to have that, because if we need to update this, we need to use this tool chain, and it's obsolete, so we just have to keep the old computer alive, and that's quite hard to sustain over time. And also there's always this sometimes those computers actually go missing or used for something else, so that it's really important to have this under control. It's the thing, because as we know, a lot of lot of knowledge is in the head of the engineers, and when they move on, they have a tendency to forget, or if they move companies, it's lost forever. So it's very, very important to from the start think about these things and how to keep the knowledge in the company.
Also, looking into the design for manufacturing as a strategic tool. Just because something is possible to manufacture doesn't mean it's the best solution. And we should try to keep in mind that if you scale up the manufacturing, it should be possible to do in 10 times the volume or 100 times the volume even. And listen to the supplier. The suppliers typically have a good knowledge. Ask questions. Is this the best solution to manufacture this typical part or typical component? If we have plastic tools or mechanical parts, there are many ways to do the same part or same component, and it could vary a lot in cost or time to do it. So a supplier or a sub-supplier typically can provide good knowledge if they are allowed to do proper design for manufacturing.
Yes, so now to the real stuff. Let's go into quality management, the fun part, which I really shine, I would say. But it's this has become very important. The quality management systems. It's a lot of new requirements coming in from the NATO AQ AP, and if you have things for flight and so on, you have this ES 91000. And these requirements, they are not only present at the start or for qualification, they go through the entire production process and even the life cycle afterwards. So it's really important to have control of these requirements, and also the documentation is often written to pass the reviews. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it survives all the way to a factory audit where it should be the same documentation. And that means that work is being done twice. And that has happened in a lot of projects that we have been involved in, that will, once you get to production readiness, you have to redo a lot of things because, these requirements that we should have had captured earlier shows up. And of course, being long cycles in the defense industry, sometimes requirements move around a little bit or being replaced by other things and so on. But this one is crucial for production, I would say, to have your QMS updated and also scaled, because once you start, if you have developed your quality processes during a time where it's kind of low volume and high quality focus, it's not the same as having high quality in high volumes. You may need to update it, and we are actually helping a lot of customer on that part, because they have grown so fast, they have grown out of their quality system, and it can be quite costful. And it's also, if that's discovered too late, and then there's a lot of depth in the documentation and the qualification, which can become a very big problem. If you right now, for instance, it's if you ship things to Ukraine and things like that, that's not a super big problem, because they just want high volume, and they're okay to accept some lacking quality sometimes. But for other customers, this will be super necessary to have everything in place. So that's kind of where we come to that. If you take any shortcuts in either one of these, and they kind of pile up in the end, and then at scale, that becomes extremely expensive.
I think this is a good moment to, first of all, ask our audience, do you have any comments on that or some extra question? If yes, just put into the chat. And meantime, there will be some small exercise. Under the chat, there is a polls window, and we prepare some polls that I will publish right now. So this is one question: which of these is already causing problems in your projects? Late design changes, missing or incompleted documentation, supplier dependency risk, certification, or none yet? Just choose. You can choose 1, 2, or even more answers. I'm checking the chat, but I don't see any question till now, so I guess it's quite clear. Okay, so yeah, if we go to defense manufacturing, it wasn't built for scale. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of connected to what we said before, that long cycles in the defense industry used for a lot of products, and things have changed in the last 5 years a lot. As we had a good talk with the FMV in Sweden, and they said, like, yeah, we're not at war, but we're not at peace either, which has changed a lot. That there's a lot of focus on quick deliveries, and scaling up a lot. So it's and for the last couple of decades there have been more focus on low volume and high quality because of the situation, and that means that it's pretty much scaled to that. So, and there is when you scale up, there is a couple of things that is very couple of points that we have found that is problematic. I would say that the defense industry is very reliant on these personal trust and relationships when we build with our suppliers, and it's nothing unusual. But once you scale up, that means that those relationships may not be that beneficial because a lot of them don't have the ability to scale up because they have been more useful in the prototype stadium. So and of course there's this single source. If you do 50 units, single source components are it's not a problem. But once you go to 5,000, then it could quite quickly become a problem, and we have seen that a lot. And also that a lot of companies don't even want to sell that many in one sitting, or so it's a can become very complicated fast. And this one is once again we're back to this quality management systems, and that's once you go scale up, then you put a lot of requirements on your supplier. And if they are a smaller supplier, it's not certain that they can actually handle that kind of qualification that is needed to provide to the defense industry, and it could be actually a loss for them to try to qualify. And it's also a bit, we have seen with a lot of our customers that they take for granted that everybody can handle it, and also that some providers say, not a problem, and then they don't really address the quality requirements on them. And that's especially in the mechanics, when you're hired to do a mechanical part, and then when you're done, it's it's revealed that it's not actually according to process, and they can't really show the documentation needed to see that they have done this, or even handle information in a correct way. So it's really, this one I would say is really important, and is when the industry is growing, is something that we really need to address. And then, of course, we have this change management, and once again, this is really scale is becoming a problem, because if you do 5 units or something, it's not, you can change that. That's not a problem. But when you do the 5,000 and you need to change something, and maybe you need to stop production to change something, or you need to consider how you want to do the production. It can really, really, really expensive fast. And also, the last point, which I think is become very common, is that you have a lot of different customers that have a little bit different requirements on what kind of hardware or software that they have in their order. That could be they kind of maybe want to use some other sensors, or we definitely want to use our local for something, and that drives variance. And it sounds easy, but it actually drives a lot of cost in production. So that's something that you need to really consider when you do it, and try to design accordingly so it makes it easy. So that's kind of, and that's where we see we can provide a lot of value in these kind of development projects, that we are pretty used to doing this, and we can see that that second source strategy is that we Martin, maybe you can take this one.
Yeah. So second source strategies, those should be validated before you move into production, because when you are in let's say a shortage situation that we have seen a couple of years ago, it's very tricky to solve a new situation when you're under press. You might take poor decisions, you might lack options, and you become slow in decision making.
Yeah, and we look at this component lifecycle monitoring. That's becoming a really hot topic now, because of the situation in the world where it's hard to get some things, some components, and it's also, as we said before, like trying to get memories and things like right now is really hard, because there's another industry that's really really growing. So it's really important to have a good view looking forward, and if you have a good component lifecycle monitoring, that you can see 2-3 years before the end of life for components, and act accordingly, which is, I think, is really it's going to be more relevant the more time goes now, because it's not going to get easier. That also saves a lot of money. So that's a really important part. And also this, that the quality management is if you really have a partner with someone that understands you, then you have this in place, and you don't need to retrofit, which is can become very expensive and drive a lot of costs. And also to make sure that you have this engineering bandwidth, because when something changes very quickly, it's really important to know that it's not only to change, you also have to go through the reviews. You need to do all the testing and all that, so that you have that ready. It's not just an engineering change. So it's really, and that we have seen many times, that you figure out, you just need to update this and do it, but usually it is a complete system test that's needed, and usually you have to redo your EMC testing and all of that, and that can also lead to complications, so to say. So yes.
Yeah. So sorry, I was disconnected, but I'm confident that you managed, Lars.
I did my absolute best. I channeled my inner Martin and did the best I could.
But gentlemen, we have first questions from audience, so I will read both of them. Who do I turn to when I need to help? To EMS or Etteplan? Both.
Both. Yeah, we actually have a partnership, so it doesn't really matter where you contact. So a little bit depending on where you are in the process, of course. If it's in the development phase, I think that Etteplan is a good way in, and if you're ready for production, I think it's better to go directly at Scanfil.
Okay, and another one, in the context of defense manufacturing and supply chains, which geopolitical risk areas or dependencies do you currently see as the most critical to monitor?
It's sorry to say, but it's the Taiwan situation is quite disturbing, and also the American. It's we have a lot of customers that say that we try to avoid American parts right now because we don't know really if we can depend on that going forward with the situation as it is right now. So those two are the main ones, but also it's also a matter of what you call the deliverance. There could be, as we see now, there's a lot of disturbance in the world, and maybe not for these kind of parts, but if you look at oil and so on, it was very easy to disrupt that industry and that sector with one move, pretty much. So that is also something to consider, that it's pretty fast it can change, so that it's hard to get things from certain parts of the world. But it's a long-winded answer, but it's I would say that Taiwan and America is the one to watch now. And in America it's more of a political statement, kind of. That we don't know. It's not that we can't trust their parts. It's more that we don't know what happens from one day to another. And in the place of Taiwan, it's there is quite a threat to the independence of Taiwan. So I don't know if you want to add something here, Martin.
No, I was lost again, but I assume it was regarding the question from Otto.
Yes.
And I do agree that the Taiwan-China situation is it's like the big elephant in the room. So, and in connection to that, I would say that slow decision making, if you haven't done second source strategies, it will become even more critical to find alternatives.
Hope that answers the question, but that's kind of where we're at now. And I also say the thing with the American part is also that you never know if the prices goes up quite quickly. That can change over a weekend of bad golfing, then we're in trouble again.
Yeah, we can observe the United States, the China, but I observed results of our polls, so there's some answers already. Just to remind the question, which of these is already causing problems in your project? Late design changes, missing or incompleted documentation, supplier dependency risk, certification, or none yet? The winner is the late design changes. Guys, will you comment that?
It's good to see it's still going strong. It's been so since the 90s, so it's encouraging. So something changed, something stayed the same.
Yeah.
Okay, but I have one extra question. Why should the move from development to production be a shared phase, not a simple, just handover?
Yeah, it kind of connects a little bit to what you said before here with the lost intelligence. And that's this is also a little bit connected to a lot of the defense industry, as we said before, is connected to this. We have this kind of gate thinking that when we do the development, you have this we call them PDR and CDR and so on, where we concept phase and then there's a test phase and so on. And sometimes or quite common actually, in that we see that you do the design lock without you think about the next step, which is qualification, and then you do all of that, but you don't think about the production, and you don't think about the life cycle, and that usually is like, okay, for qualification there's some rework loops, and that kind of sometimes you have that in mind when you do the budget for your project, but then when you come to production, then that shows up, that what you didn't ask, those questions you didn't ask in the design before you did the design lock, here comes the here comes the bill for that one. And if you haven't really thought it through, then you end up in this life cycle. And these days, I mean, we had a customer case with someone said, yeah, can you guarantee that this works in 60 years? I don't think that I'm 46, so I don't think it will be a problem of mine unless I do quit all my habits. But that's quite a reach, and quite then you really need to think about your design. Can this actually, is this relevant in 60 years? Probably not, but it puts things in good perspective. And most things are platforms are supposed to live 25 years at least, and up to 40 years. So that's kind of the thing. And then, Martin, do you want to add something here?
Quite good.
Okay.
Good or not?
So in a more optimal way of working, of course, then you have this, you look ahead and you get your information from these different stages, like what we need for qualification, what do we need for production, is it ready, can we scale it, what requirements does that put on our product, and of course then how to monitor it when it goes into the field, and so on, to keep the platform updated. It's and get those requirements in, but in most cases we're still in this kind of handover thing here, that design, and then we hand it over to qualification, and it's qualified, it's production ready, and then we hand it over to production, and then we send it to the customer and hope for the best. So I would say that from our experience in working together, that there is this transition period there. Both sides needs to be very involved for a while to see that, okay, this is how we did it, and this is our thinking, and to catch all this kind of caveats that we have, and then when that's done, production can continue. Then we have a next transition, which is into the field life, and there also the customer and the customer's customers. Everybody needs to be involved in this to transfer this knowledge and this thinking, and how to and that's it's those are like spikes a little bit in the project, where it's okay, quite many people are actually required to do this, but the payoff is it's greater than the input here, I would say. So it's really important to have this thing, and as we have a partnership from Etteplan and Scanfil, this is quite natural for us in the way of working, because our engineers can talk to each other and help each other out. But this is that we've seen a lot of examples in the industry where this is lacking, and once you come to production, there's this what how is this even supposed to be to be built, and nobody really knows, but it's qualified. So
I agree to that, and you could typically point out that if you work as a joint partner, then you can include many disciplines already early on. Engineers are very good people and very well educated, but you cannot be an expert on everything. If you can include manufacturing, you can include sourcing, and perhaps even legal as different functions into the project at an early stage, then you don't miss so much as you typically could do during a normal handoff from a project into production.
Mm-hmm. And I guess in this model, we create some kind of synergy, right, between, for example, Scanfil, Etteplan, and of course our customers. And I guess here communication is quite crucial.
Communication is extremely important, and that could be added that when you work together with Scanfil, Etteplan, and the customer, you might need to increase the communication than compared to if you only work with one partner. If you're looking at the early stages of the project, you need to keep everyone informed. But when you come to the handoff, the communication will become much easier. So you increase the need for communication early in the project, but the overall communication will become better and more secure. And you transform the information to all parties in a better way.
Yeah, but coming back to our slides. So we talk about a little bit about short zone. Would you like to highlight something more here?
So I was disconnected once again. So where were we at?
We went through this a little bit, that the communication and then to get all the requirements early on and speak to everyone. So
Yeah.
I think we covered pretty much what's important here. And as I said, we have seen so many times that the wall without integration is kind of, even when we come into the project as at the plan, there has been a design lock already, and we see that once we come to this like production readiness review, and we say, okay, this is not gonna hold up because these things were not considered. So we have a lot of experience with this, and then it's a change management, and you need to go back, you need to redo a lot of things, and in the worst case scenario, you need to even change the mechanics for a part, which is extremely expensive. So this is just life lessons, I would say. The very, very expensive life lessons.
But of course needed.
Yeah, we have a question in the chat there, I think.
Yes, exactly. We have a new question. When the product has been in production for a while and components suddenly starts to become a problem, how do customers get noticed and how to resolve issues?
Yes, so there's a lot of ways to do it, but as we have a service that does this, that we can that monitor all the components over time, which means that this I would say the key word in this sentence is suddenly starts to become a problem, which is what you want to avoid. And if you do lifecycle management and do this component management, you will can see very early that there's an end of life of this component, or there's some other problem, maybe 2-3 years in advance. And then if we do it, we just as soon as we see that this thing is happening, we will alert the customer this component is going out, or is last buy, or whatever it can be. And then if we need to change, if we have the full service, then we will also suggest that we can replace it with this component, and you need to do perhaps this update on the hardware or software to do it. And if you do that in good time, and so it shouldn't be a problem for production. So that's kind of what the value of that service is, that you never get this stop of production, and that's how that works. That's how.
And it could be even more valuable when we look into defense manufacturing, because it's typically project-based. If I compare it to a normal running production that we've done year in and year out, then you have a very close collaboration together with the suppliers, and they are notifying you in good times. But if you have a project that is halted for some time or waiting for another project order, then the supplier might stop notify you that components become end of life, and you sort of get out of the customer list. So if you have this service that Lars just explained, then you have a better control of component lifecycle management.
And we have another question to this topic. You mentioned that the transition between development and production is a short zone, not a handoff point. What kind of external partners are most valuable in the short zone?
I'm not sure I completely understand the question, but of course, Scanfil and Etteplan, we are partners in this transition, and the customer is, of course, extremely important part in this handoff. Sub-suppliers to us is important to keep in mind. Other disciplines that might come into place are legal parameters, maybe. There could be agreement factors that also might have an impact on the handoff.
Yeah, I'll say also that if you haven't done it already, then export control, of course, to have someone to make sure that everything is in order for that. There can sometimes be complications with different software tool change and so on. I think that's really important, and if you don't have it yourself, then some quality management assurance that make sure some sort of external audits that make sure that your suppliers and your partners are up to the task. It's you can do a lot yourself, but if you really want to be sure, then an external quality audit could be good to do.
Okay.
All right. There's 15 minutes left, so I guess we can go to the ramp up. What do you think?
Yep.
Perfect.
So we have seen that time to market has become more and more critical. If we look at the defense industry some years back, the time to market was, of course, it's always been important, but not as important as it is today. And if we look at the time to market, most of the time is during the preparation phase. The actual manufacturing time and the delivery time is quite short in comparison to the preparation phase. And there are many things that can drag during the preparation phase. It could be contractual, legal issues. Devil is in the details. There is many contractual parts or paragraphs that can have a price impact. It could limit the supplier selection. It could be, sometimes we have seen very heavy legal contracts that needs to be flowed down to sub-suppliers, thick as Bibles, and that could even make suppliers to reject the business, or maybe just sign off without knowing what they are actually signing. We have also seen in some cases that you have one product, but it's the purpose is for different end customers, and the end customers can put different requirements. So you could actually have different requirements on the same product that you manufacture. So you need to keep the end customer in mind when you set up the manufacturing. And as I said, it can also have a price impact. And when we are looking at our sub-suppliers, tier 2, tier 3, even if the final product is a high-value product, it could be an airplane, it could be submarine, the subparts might be complex, but in a very low quantity. So the business value for sub-suppliers might be quite low. And when we work with high quality standards, we might have unusual manufacturing techniques. It could be special materials. We might go to the small specialist sub-suppliers, and they might be able to do these parts, but they are not willing to accept the contractual terms, maybe. Yeah, and some of these sub-suppliers might already be locked in during the design phase. You, as an engineer, might have found a supplier that is willing to do your very complex design, and then it's hard to find an alternative if that supplier is not willing to accept the legal terms in the next step.
That's very common, that case, and it's also especially I would say also on the mechanical parts, that it's really, for a lot of our suppliers, it's hard to scale because it takes a lot of time to do these complicated things, and maybe there's something that's more money for them that is easier and faster and higher quantities. So
Can we add this secret stuff later in the supply chain?
Sorry. You mean that you want to add if there are some document that is export control and so on, for example?
Yeah, exactly.
No, that can be way too late. I mean, those documentation must be shared in an early stage. We have discussed design for manufacturing. That is something you do together with the supplier. You must assure that our sub-suppliers are allowed to handle the documentation that we hand over. So no, that must be done at an early stage.
That's one of the first things that needs to be done in every project, is to actually define these kind of things, that what we're talking about here, what kind of classification information is there. I would say, especially now though, with for instance, when you have American customers with their ITAR classed things, which puts a lot of requirements on your IT environment and how you handle data and so on. So for sub-suppliers as well, and to have the right kind of tools so you can actually transfer files to the sub-supplier. I would say, especially on like CAD files and so on, it's you sometimes forget that you cannot just send those in a mail or something. You need to have a shared space where you can do it, and sometimes even some special encrypted tools to be able to do it. So that I would say that it's extremely hard to do that at the end. It's like it's because it's process. It's kind of like functional safety. You can't add that at the end, even though many would like to add on that at the end. But it's about how you develop things. So no.
Would anyone like to comment on that, or there's some extra questions for this topic now? If yes, of course, the chat is the space where you can write your questions and we'll answer them. I see that Martin is missing one more time.
Quite a mystery.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this I can maybe fill in a little bit for Martin here. This is not But
Mhm.
yeah, it's a lot of things that in the defense industry are kind of at least even if you look at fighter jets and so on, it's a lot of things that are handmade. You do it by by hand by a specialist that does that thing. So, but if you want to go into manufacturing, you need to really break down those things into to figure out what's the smallest task that we can do this in, so it can be done a lot of times, this single thing. So it's also to design it so it's easy to do that, and also to consider who will be doing this, because it's one thing when the engineer that designed a piece does it because he knows the ins and outs and everything about it. But once you hand it over to an operator that should do it, and then you need to figure out the description of how is this done and why and so on. So yeah, Martin, I'll try to cover for you here a little bit.
Yeah, thank
So,
you. I never experienced so much problem before, but yeah.
Yeah.
So we're at the operators and
the operators.
exactly.
Exactly.
And this is typical lean principles, basically, that but it's easily forgotten in low volume manufacturing. So it's important to keep in mind that if we are to scale up, the tasks that you do should be easy enough for an operator to do. When we look at our operators, they are good at their professions, they're good at their skills, but they might not be so much into the product as you are as an engineer. So you need to break down all the tasks into easily explainable tasks and activities. And you can keep in mind, considering that you want to bring in now when we're looking at the summer vacations, perhaps we want to bring in new summer workers that should be able to perform the tasks. And in the best scenario, you have such a good work instructions. You have done design that is easily manufactured, even for operators that might not have a higher university degree. And this also create greater resilience, because if you have created a design and instructions that are easily repeatable, then you're not so dependent on individuals. If we look at typical low volume manufacturing that has been in the past, you might be dependent on one very experienced operator that have done this product for many years and knows it by heart. But if you are to scale up, that is not sustainable.
Mhm.
Then, of course, it's important to invest in test. There should be continuous testing throughout the supply chain, so that each part of the supply chain can be responsible for their delivery to the next partner in the supply chain. Sometimes we hear that, well, you have such good processes, there's no test needed. Well, a process is not a test. You wouldn't really buy a car that hasn't been tested, that no one has started, because we all know that Toyota has the best processes, but still you want someone to test the car before you start the engine for the first time as a customer. So it's important to do continuous testing throughout the supply chain, and preferably before it's so heavily involved in a complex system, so that if you do find out that there has been a manufacturing non-conformity, it shouldn't take days or weeks to disassemble and do rework and then assemble again.
Mhm.
And as Lars said before, we are not at war, but we are not at peace either. Time to market has become more essential. We have seen that rapid updates is required to meet the customer demands, and it should be possible to do design updates in a structured way, but also in a fast and rapid way. And I can mention I was at a seminar some week ago where there was a Ukrainian company explaining that they update the products, not only refurnish, but actually make a new product. They were talking about drones, and there was a new product launch every month. So what they manufactured in April is not the same as they manufacture in May. And that is extreme rapid updates, of course, in a constantly changing environment, but it's something to keep in mind when we look at the current design project that we're involved within. It's longer than a month.
Yeah. So, I'm in a project now that has been going on for 12 years. So
yeah.
Okay, if we talk about years.
Yeah, actually.
We have some timeline here.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we have 2 minutes,
Yeah,
but if you can all stay a little bit longer, sorry, we have just 2 more slides, so just stay with us. And Lars, please continue.
I will speed run then. So we come back to this one, life cycle management, and we see more and more now that this is a challenge in the manufacturing because of the platforms are supposed to live at least 15 years, usually 20 up to 40 years, as I said before, and it needs to be kept alive and be able to be at least produced for like 15 years and then kept alive for the rest of that time. And as we said many times before, that the design phase decisions, that is what that's where the money is in this. And if it is so that you come into this reactive handling, as we had a question before, that suddenly something goes away, and we would like to push that you need to have proactive component lifecycle management, and then, of course, then you will not, hopefully, not end up in that situation. At least you reduce the risk by 90%. And I would say that this lifecycle management, component lifecycle management, is about managing your risk. If you don't do it, you have an unknown in your platform at all times. And it can be very expensive. And also, that kind of goes into this software and tool chain. You sometimes you forget about that embedded systems running now and running in 10 years could be very different, a different world we live in. We see now a very rapid change in how software is made and what kind of tools are used. But are those, if you look, for instance, a lot of people will like AI tools today, but how future-proof are those? Can we guarantee that those work over time? These are decisions that need to be made, and they need to be kept up to date. And as we say, it's not optional. This is operational, because if you don't have the tool chain in place, you will, even if you do a rapid update, it's going to be very hard for you to actually sustain it over time. Because once it goes obsolete, then you have quite problems. We have had one project that we actually have to change the compiler, which sounds very easy. You just change it, but it turns out now the code that came out of that one was structured very differently, and that meant that we had to redo the EMC tests because it didn't act like it did before. So there's a lot of things that you need to consider there. And in the end, this shouldn't be news to anyone in the that develops things, but proactive versus reactive, you need to be proactive here, because the cost of halting your production because of components that are obsolete, or software that's not software tool change are not usable anymore, it drives the cost. And if it's 3 to 5 times the cost when you need to do something in panic, instead of doing it very calm and collected as you should be when you do the kind of updates to your hardware. I don't know if it's for everybody else, but when I'm really stressed and do things, the result is not always the best. But it is what it is. So, but it is this continuity. It should be a mindset that it's not just making a product; it's keeping it alive. Do you want to add something there, Martin, or is it?
Oh, I can also typically mention that it's sometimes working within the defense industry, you're not always affected by all regulations that comes into place for consumer products or for industrial products. But just because you're exempted for certain things doesn't mean it's good to keep on with the old manufacturing technique. We have seen, for example, that some customers are allowed to continue to use products that are prohibited in other industries, but just because you're allowed doesn't mean it's good. There could be so that no supplier are interested in doing this anymore because the market is too small, for example. So that is also one thing, to be proactive when new regulations comes into place. Consider it even if you're not affected, because it might impact your product or your manufacturing anyway.
That's a really good point, because there is a lot of new regulations coming in that a lot of big defense players said, now we don't need to consider this. And then it turns out, you actually do need to consider both CE marking, and you also need to consider this RED and NIS2 and all of these cybersecurity things. And that's, and that also applies to older products that are on the market. So that's really, things are changing quickly now with all the new regulations and the new REACH that comes into play now. I think I would recommend everyone to take a good and hard look at that, because that's going to change how you handle your manufacturing. So summarizing pretty much that there are two things that, or a couple of things that you need to address, and it is this, that we don't want to have these separated. It's a joint venture from start to beginning with this to come from an idea to a product and actual requirements, and then make the product, test it, produce it, deliver, and keep it alive. It's all connected. The red wire for once is actually doing good stuff. It's not just a conspiracy theory here. This is the key to control costs and keeping quality, and you're also keeping your customers happy with what the end result is. So and as we from Etteplan and Scanfil, we have this cooperation, which means that we can actually supply a lot of these things either separately or as a package together. And from the Etteplan side, we do this quality management support, which could be needed. Lifecycle management, we can help you to produce or new products, and we can go from pretty much use case all the way to finished for production, and then we hand over to our friends at Scanfil.
And we have both production and prototype manufacturing. We could mention that we have manufacturing in many NATO countries. We have a global footprint. We know that it's important to keep manufacturing in the right countries for many reasons, and we have a global footprint, so we can provide that as well. And we have a wide product range. We can manufacture both everything from PCBAs to quite complex system integrations.
Yeah, and then I mean the question that we would like to send with you is to if you want to figure out is like where what handoff is not working. Why do we end up with components that are suddenly start to become a problem? To come back to that one, so that's really good. Yeah.
So yeah, I think we can summarize. You prepared some short list with key takeaways.
Yeah, so production requirement, it must be a design input, not just a downstream check. And scaling from low volume down to high volume it's a systematic challenge, not just a capacity question.
Yeah, and as I say, this transition zone is shared territory, not handoff. That we need to understand that it's not a wall. It's a it's a staircase. We need to go up together. So, and yeah, life cycle management. I mean, it's a problem. It's a challenge or a problem, you ever want to call it, but it's something that we see is becoming like the biggest thing now because of the situation that we're in. And if you really want to save money over time, I would strongly suggest that having this component lifecycle management somehow to be proactive, because the cost of reactive is very high, and it's 3 to 5 times in our experience from a planned operation. Okay.
And we have one more question. Is a specific revenue threshold required to ensure ROI from this partnership? In other words, is the collaboration viable for lower volume SMEs?
From an Etteplan side, it's not a problem if there's a low volume. I don't know if, of course, it's a matter of complexity, of course, in this as well. But we see it. That's there is not no lower limit that I know of. I don't know, Martin, what do you?
No, we have both high volume and low volume sites in Scanfil. So we have smaller factories that can handle lower volumes, and we have, of course, the high volume factories that are capable of handling the higher volumes. So and each product is quoted separately. So no, there's always an option for even for small and medium enterprises.
I must admit it's the last chance to ask questions to Lars and Martin in real time, because after this event, of course, they are available and you can send any questions to them in this topic. After all, with thank you email, I'll add email address to both of our speakers. But if you have any questions, that's the right time to ask. We can wait a little bit, but it was really nice discussion. We can see how this landscape is changing, and how to adjust manufacturing and designing to that.
Yes.
So yeah, I really appreciate that you shared your knowledge, even from practical way. That's valuable. Yeah, I don't see more questions.
No.
So thank you so much
Thank you.
for today. And recording will be published on YouTube today or tomorrow morning, but I send a link to all participants when it will be ready on the platform.
Thank you.
So thank you so much and have a good day.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.